What's up guys, Everything Apple Pro here, and I wanted to talk to you guys about an Apple product I'm very excited for in 2018, and that would be Apple's iPad lineup. There's a lot of hype about Apple's upcoming iPad, and I wanted to put that down into a design for you in this video and show you guys what Apple's been cooking and what's rumored to happen with the new iPad later this year. Also, kind of on the more hopeful side, what I would like to see. So very much like I did in the iPhone SE2 video, an Apple product that's coming out, how I would like to see it, how it's going to be, and everything you guys need to know in between. So if you guys have been holding out for an iPad, this is going to be the one to buy. I mean, right now, Apple's iPad is the best you can buy, in my opinion, tablet-wise. I mean, Android doesn't even come close to what Apple has accomplished, and the new model will be on another level, design-wise, features-wise, performance-wise, everything. So I'm so excited to talk to you guys about everything rumored to happen for the new iPad. Let's get to it. And the first thing I wanted to mention real quick is the financials. Where's Apple at with the iPads right now in their lineup? From 2015 up until 2017, Apple was actually losing sales year over year on the iPad, 17% decline as they were becoming less and less popular. Then Apple revamped it with the 10.5 inch, and this actually had the sales skyrocket in the end of 2017 with a 14% increase in sales. So Apple is leading the game with tablets, which honestly haven't been that popular in sales in the last few years. So this year, Apple is really aiming to kick it out of the park with the new iPad. And personally, I just want to say I love this. This is one of my favorite Apple products. It's great for reading, just for casual using it. It's incredibly powerful. You can do some pro things on it, hence the name iPad Pro, but it's still no computer. I think the software is still limiting it, despite all of the advancements in iOS 11. Honestly, I think what Apple needs to do is just make this thing more like an iPhone 10, which I'll be happy to report is exactly what they're gonna do. So in recent rumors, Apple has been said that they're gonna take inspiration from the iPhone 10. Now, in design-wise, yes, that's what's gonna happen, but I don't know about software-wise. No one really does. I always go to swipe an app up, it just opens a control center. I'm so used to it on the iPhone. I wanna swipe between apps on the bottom, just doesn't work. So I think with this new one, Apple's definitely going to bridge that gap between iPhone and iPad in terms of OS. So in a detailed report, Ming-Chi Kuo is saying that the iPad later this year will receive Face ID, the very same sensors as the iPhone. Now this means it will have no home button. On the bottom, where you were used to seeing and using the home button on the iPad, it will be making that legendary shift into the home button-less state, much like the iPhone 10. So we will have the 3D facial scanning sensors, everything required for Face ID up top, and this will be system-wide. So you'll pay for everything using Face ID, you'll unlock your phone using, or your iPad using Face ID, and so on. So I think that's going to be a great change. And this was just a few days ago confirmed again by the innovator, who's saying that LG will be solely supplying the Face ID chips for the iPad, the iPhone 10, and the iPhone 10 Plus later this year. So get ready for Face ID on a different Apple product. So in a huge report by Bloomberg, they talked about the iPad and all the new features and design differences coming to it later this year. If you guys remember, Bloomberg accurately predicted a lot of the iPhone 10 features, software things, design things months in advance of its release. So I trust this thing fully. Now, what they're saying is several key things. One, it will be getting Face ID, also confirmed by Ming-Chi Kuo and the investor, and also it will be getting a full redesign to make it more like an iPhone 10 design-wise, and that's exactly what I wanted to hear. I'm hoping the software will be bridged as well, but that's going to be awesome to see as well. They're saying that it will have reduced and greatly reduced bezels on the edge. So the concept you're watching is the one that me and the Bro King designed in accordance to this rumor. So it's going to have less bezels, and I'm hoping it'll have curved edges to match the outside shell, and again the iPhone 10, and overall the design language of iOS 11. No home button, and as a result you're getting more area for that display, which would be awesome. They're saying it's going to be roughly the size of a 9.7 inch iPad, but having the display size of the 10.5 inch and maybe even larger, so around a 10 inch display. Their actual quote is, by removing the home button, Apple plans to noticeably reduce the size of the edges on the top and bottom of the device for the first time since its introduction in 2010. That's actually quite monumental, and bringing the design closer to that of the recently released flagship iPhone 10. The new version will mark the first revamped look for the iPad since the first iPad Pro debuted in 2015, and that's awesome. I like to hear that. I thought that the iPad 10.5 inch was a huge refresh. What you're going to be seeing this year, according to Bloomberg, will be even better and bigger. And because of this inspiration by the iPhone 10, we did a lot more. We rounded the edges some more on the sides, on the back. We installed a dual lens camera there to mimic the iPhone 10-esque feature. There's the Face ID sensors on the front. So it's basically an iPhone 10ified iPad, and I'm all for it. It's beautiful. I think the result works very well. And if it actually got that color combo from the iPhone 8, the rose or blush gold, that would be awesome. It looks really great on an iPad on a larger scale. Now, the glass back we're showing here most likely won't be happening, as Apple probably won't be putting wireless charging on an iPad. You'd need a really big pad for it or something very stable, but who knows? Maybe they could surprise us with that. This is just our rendition of it. Now, insider supply chain sources who have asked to not be named are saying that the iPad Pro 2018 model will not be getting an organic LED display. So working firsthand with the displays, I said it's just going to be a liquid crystal, much like on the current iPad. Now, it is still possible to round the edges and do notches on a LCD display. It's just that OLED would have been more efficient, would have looked better, but on a larger scale, it would be harder to reproduce and mass produce without issues, and burn-in could be an issue as well. So although we won't be getting that this year, it's possible in the future Apple will migrate to an OLED display on the iPad series as well. I would love to see that. Now, a new report from MyDrivers has been published. They don't have the best track record, but they have accurately predicted several things in the past, so at least there's that. They're saying that the new chip inside of the iPad will be an 8-core monster, the Apple A11X Bionic. It won't be called the Fusion anymore, it'll be called the Bionic. It just makes you think, if Apple is able to achieve such crazy results with a 6-core processor in the iPhone 10, imagine a performance variant of that with 8 cores. They're saying 3 of those will be high performance and the rest will be high efficiency for power savings. It really makes you think. I mean, I think this thing will compete with some mid-tier laptops, their MacBook Pros. It could even overcome the processor scores on that. Personally, I think it'll get a 6,000 single-core score and possibly 12 to 15,000 multi-core. I think the possibilities of that will be amazing. And lastly, there have been some patent filings for the iPad from Apple. On the back, Apple's installing some sort of touch-based gestures, so you'll be able to swipe up or to the side to do different things on the interface of the iPad. And it's unlikely these will make its way over to the iPad right now, but it's an interesting concept. I just think it would work better on an iPhone, not an iPad, where you have to hold the device with 2 hands just to do those swipe gestures. Otherwise, it's a pretty good idea, I guess. Now, as for release dates, the rumors are saying we won't be seeing a refresh of the iPad up until Worldwide Developers Conference in June. So likely the March events usually held for iPads won't be happening this year, and just like last year, Apple will release these new iPads at the June event. And it's likely that Apple will hold off until iOS 12 is released, just because they're going to design this thing ground up to work with iOS 12 to be similar to the iPhone. That's my guess anyways. So they won't want to release it early on iOS 11 and then have to overhaul and change it on iOS 12. So June is likely when they will announce it next to iOS 12, which will work with this new iPad. And supposedly there's a 2nd generation Apple Pencil that's coming alongside this new iPad, but releasing earlier in March. Features-wise, they're saying it could have additional functionality in third-party applications because it's pretty limited right now to what it can do in applications outside of Apple's. It could have a sort of magnet feature that it could clip onto the side or on the back of the new iPad for storage, as well as a new antenna design inside of it. So really very vague there, but a 2nd generation may be in the works, and I'm sure it will be, with battery life more accurate, new sensors inside of it, a finer tip on the front. There's definitely some possibilities for what can be improved on it. And in a surprising rumor, Digitimes is reporting that Apple will be releasing another iPad later this year. Not the mini, there's been no word on that at all. It might even be discontinued. Instead, a cheaper alternative to the current $329 budget or entry-level model, and it will be priced at $259. They're saying it'll be a 9.7-inch model, but other than that, no specs are known. It's not even known if it will replace the $329 model, but I definitely think it would make sense to replace that. So Apple is simplifying the iPad lineup in their attempt anyways, and we're definitely going to be seeing some changes here. I'm thinking that there will be a 9.7-inch entry level, a 10.5-inch which will stay, and then the new smaller 9.7-inch form factor but the iPhone 10-like design, and then the larger 12.9-inch. So that would sort of simplify it, because right now it is kind of confusing as well. And a very interesting report is saying that iPhone, iPad, and macOS apps may eventually be shared and used from the App Store on different devices, but it'll be the same application. This is coming from Bloomberg, so there is some reputation behind this actually happening. And the idea of it is kind of crazy. what kind of an experience would you get going from an iPhone to a Mac computer then to an iPad? How would it differ? But they're saying that the touch inputs, everything will be adjusted accordingly for the device that you're using. It'll just help evolve and grow all of these platforms together, as the macOS App Store is actually kind of not used so much as Apple's iOS version on the iPad and iPhone. So this would supposedly help everything grow in sync. And I think the idea is awesome, but the execution itself will have to be seen, as I don't know if that could work very well. It's a very good idea though, so we'll see what happens with that one. Anyways, guys, that's the latest on the iPad coming later this year. I honestly think it'll be a very great refresh if it's anything like the iPhone 10 in iPad form. Now, that's what's expected to happen, but what would I like to see happen? So first off, an organic LED display is a given. I would love to see it on an iPad form factor. It would be like a mini OLED TV in your hands that you could watch your content on with extreme blacks. That would be awesome. Is it going to happen? Probably not this year. I would also like to see 3D touch in one form or another, and by that I mean they could incorporate it into the display or use it on the Apple Pencil, which is pressure sensitive. Apple actually had a 3D touch feature using the Apple Pencil on the iPad. It was kind of crazy because they removed it and made no mention of it whatsoever, so I know that feature is possible on even current iPads that support Apple Pencil, but I'd like to see them incorporate it naturally in the new version of iOS 12. And I'd also like to see some water resistance on it, because adding that feature is almost next to nothing for Apple, just some rubber seals inside of it, because a lot of people use this thing in or around a pool or a bath just to read, stuff like that. So to compete with the Kindle, they would need that feature as well. But anyways, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. Those are the latest rumors on the new iPad. Really hoping it'll look something like this. So yeah, take note, Apple, but we'll be seeing that later this year in or around Worldwide Developers Conference. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned. Peace.